Good morning and welcome to Rising. It's Amber and Jessica back together again.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
Let's go.
Happy Brat Summer. I'm wearing my Brat Summer green. It's Brat Friday.
I look goth compared to you.
I know, our telepathy is out of sync, but maybe next Friday we'll get it right. All right, so let's get into this. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are also back together again. They made a joint appearance Thursday to highlight how they've made good on the promise to tackle prescription drug costs. This was the first time the pair appeared together since Biden dropped out of the race and Harris took over the top of the Democratic ticket. Speaking at an event in Prince George's County Community College in Maryland, they touted their work to lower Medicare prescription drug prices, the economy, and what the administration has done to alleviate costs for Americans. Take a look.
We believe deeply every senior in our nation should be able to live with security, stability, and dignity. And so in the United States of America, no senior should have to choose between either filling their prescription or paying their rent.
I believe that health care should be a right, not a privilege in America. And Kamala and I are here today to make a major announcement on our efforts to lower the extraordinary high prescription drug prices.
The pair announced drug makers have agreed to cut prices of 10 of the other most expensive drugs under Medicare. They predict this move could save seniors $1.5 billion.
Meanwhile, GOP nominee Donald Trump held a presser Thursday too. This one from his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey. Trump blasted Harris from the beginning. Listen.
Kamala Harris is a radical California liberal who broke the economy, broke the border, and broke the world, frankly. Very destructive to the entire world because as we go, oftentimes the world goes. She destroys everything she touches, and if she wins, your finances and your country will never recover. You're never going to recover. I'm very angry at her that she'd weaponized the justice system against me and other people. Very angry at her. I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president.
Trump VP pick J.D. Vance has also not let his foot off the gas in attacking Harris, posting a sarcastic response to her allegedly cribbing Trump's policy proposals. Quote, Kamala Harris will soon propose that we finish the border wall and make America great again. No one should be fooled by the fake campaign copying President Trump's vision. The difference is Trump actually lowered prices as president. Harris is in power now and does nothing. Polling shows Trump and Harris neck and neck, with some revealing Harris is possibly pulling ahead of Trump. According to The Hill and Decision Desk HQ, right now Harris is polling at 49% compared to Trump's 47.2%. And according to 538's latest tally, Harris is also besting Trump. As of this morning, Harris is 2.9 percentage points in front, with 46.3% versus Trump's 43.5%. Of course, we can always find polls that say the opposite. I would just cite a couple just to indicate that I think the race is very tight. I think it's incredibly close. Democracy Initiative, which had a poll of 2,700 respondents, has Trump up 4 percentage points. And then on background, I was shown results from a 3,000-person national survey that was fielded last week and has been running monthly since January. And the generic congressional ballot is dead even, while Trump is up 2 points over Harris. But Harris has been performing well. There's no question about that. She, according to this same survey, is up 3 points from where Biden was pre-debate. But Trump's still edging her out there. So again, I think the race is effectively tied. We're basically back to where we were maybe a couple of weeks before the first presidential debate.
Yeah, I think it's interesting seeing Trump have all those products next to him giving free advertising to honey bunches of oats and Folgers. A very interesting ploy. I know that a lot of Americans don't have Medicare and are struggling with drug costs and are not impacted by this policy around Medicare. But it's still good that seniors are not paying more than so many other countries for the same exact prescription. American healthcare has become an absolute scam. But it's shocking to hear Joe Biden say, healthcare is a right. That's what we believe. Kamala Harris came out and said she's not pushing for universal single-payer healthcare. There will not be a push for that in this campaign cycle. But if you believe healthcare is a right, this is a right that you need money to access. If we said that about our other rights, sure, you have to buy a gun to get a gun. I guess you have the right to bear arms, but you need money to get it. But a lot of our other fundamental freedoms and rights, like our right to free speech, you don't buy your way to free speech. You can buy your way to be heard more, but that's not a right you can only access with a certain amount of dollars. So I don't like it when people who are not using their power as the President of the United States to ensure that people enjoy this right. It feels just like lip service. And so it's just another one of those election cycles where regular working class people are really not having their main concerns addressed with clear policy plans from either major party.
This is a fundamental problem with the Harris campaign, is she has been in the White House effectively for 4 years. Obviously, she's not the president, but according to all of the comments that her and Biden have made over the past 4 years, they are working intertwined together on all of these policies. So if she really has as much say in the administration as she says she has, then she should have been able to accomplish these things that have been on her policy platform or added to it over the past couple of weeks for the past 4 years. I mean, we heard Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, say yesterday that there is no daylight between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Susan Rice saying that it's actually offensive to suggest that Kamala did not have much of a hand in this administration. Biden saying that she was not going to distance herself from Bidenomics on the campaign trail. And then in this joint appearance, Kamala Harris calls Biden extraordinary and has previously tweeted about how both her and Joe were instrumental in getting Bidenomics done. Then we get the July inflation report out and we see that, okay, great, the inflationary rate has fallen down to 2.9%. It's still a full percentage point over where it was when they took office, not to mention prices still remain 20% higher, with electricity 40% higher than it was when Biden and Harris took office. So for her to say she's going to fix the economy after they've had 4 years and we're still struggling is incredibly hollow.
Well, I think about the inflation numbers we saw in 2020 under Joe Biden, and if we compare, the first quarter of 2020 to quarter four of 2022, around the world, we see countries like Finland, Netherlands, Greece, Israel. These are all countries where their inflation rate increased by 5 times to 25 times. They were 5 times to 25 times higher than they were in the first quarter of 2020. So Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't create inflation globally. There's no way they would have pulled that off. What they did was they had to handle a global economy where inflation was on the rise because of COVID. And so I think they've done a good job getting inflation down. What I have a question about is we had 2 things reported. When Kamala Harris was serving as vice president, I mean, she still is, but throughout the tenure, this was like a year or 2 ago, there was a lot of reporting that she's not present in meetings, that she's not talking a lot with Biden, that she's not invited to meetings, and she's ousted. And now we have, people crediting her for all of Biden's record. I don't know what is reality. I don't know if she was working on things independent of the president, and we'll never know. But it seems that Biden made a deal with her that actually we're going to have to talk about my record on the campaign trail. And I don't know if this was in exchange for an endorsement. We know that Biden cares about his legacy, and this could have been a thing of, I'm going to drop out and endorse you, but on your campaign trail, you're going to talk about all of the good stuff that happened when I was president. I think that's what happened here. I think that's politics.
I don't disagree with you at all. We could tell from Biden's first interview after he left the race that he was incredibly bitter about what happened to him. And honestly, who wouldn't be? I mean, he was basically forced out of the position. There was reporting from some well-respected journalists that he was threatened with the 25th Amendment, with Obama allegedly going to Biden and saying, she has the votes, she's going to take you out, so you can just step aside now and save your legacy and save a bit of your pride. But that's what's happening. And anybody, obviously, would feel the same way if that happened to them. So yeah, that's, again, the fundamental problem of how involved really was she in the administration. And if you look back at how Biden was polling before and after the debate, people didn't really like what his administration did. So do you really want that refrigerator on your back while you're running? And then on top of that, you have, as you were pointing out, her shift away from single-payer health care. Is she the 2019 Kamala Harris who was running in the Democratic primary, or is she trying to be this moderate Democrat, which some of her economic policies that she plans to release today don't suggest that. Other ones do. It all is just very confusing and gives the impression that not only does Kamala not know who she is, but she doesn't even really know who she wants to be. She's both burdened by the past and by the future, I guess.
I think if Biden wasn't in the picture, she would have a lot easier of a time, selling her message to the country. I think she's coming to her own a little bit in these campaign rallies by herself or with Tim Walz. But seeing her there with Biden, it does make her burdened by what has been. And I think if Biden cared about what the party fights for, typically policy-wise, he would step aside, because he would see that his impact on this election is always to bring the Democrats down. And as much as we can explain how, yes, Biden was president when inflation happened, inflation was happening globally, everyday people, while they'll hear that argument, they still felt that their life wasn't good under a president. They're still not going to like that president. I remember, going to Kentucky to do field reporting and talk to voters, and I asked the Uber driver, what she thought about why I was there. I was there to ask about ballot initiative where they could vote directly as to whether or not to amend their constitution around guaranteeing the right to abortion. And she said, well, I just think it was wrong of Biden to overturn Roe. And just because he was president, he was credited for this. So I think the Democrats especially have never been good at recognizing what the mindset of the average person in America really is, how much they pay attention to politics, and how frequently they not only assume they're stupid and unable of understanding, but they don't translate actual policies into just words everyday people use when they do talk about it. They've got to be somewhere in the middle, where they recognize that they have a record to answer for, and they need to do it in a way that's not super wonky and nerdy, in a way that people tune out.
And just to provide sources for my claim about Biden being threatened with the 25th Amendment, Seymour Hersh reported that, as did the New York Post in an exclusive report. So just want to make sure that we're always citing our sources. But I also think it's interesting that two of the most popular proposals that Kamala Harris has come out with were pilfered from Trump. I mean, in June, it was when Trump announced that he wanted to get rid of taxes on tips. And then 2 months later, Kamala's like, nope, I'm doing that, actually. And meanwhile, her record under the Biden administration has been to go after service workers' tips by empowering the IRS to create programs that would make it harder for service workers to hide cash tips, tips that were given through payment processors like Zelle and Venmo, and also gave the IRS $80 billion to hire 80,000 additional agents, which was explained away as, well, we're only going to go after rich people. But in practice, we know that actually most of the people that get audited are middle to upper middle class, and they don't have the expensive lawyers to help make sure that they're not going to end up paying some massive fine or end up in jail when they get audited. And then she just today announced that she wants to increase the child tax credit to $6,000, when J.D. Vance said it a month ago that he wanted to increase it from $2,000 to $5,000, and everyone made fun of him, saying that he was trying to punish people who don't have children. And now Kamala Harris is proposing the same thing, except add on $1,000 to make it look nicer. And all the media reports are glowing about how great she is at helping people create families. It's just very unserious.
I think it's good for the American people that we're now having candidates bully each other into adopting each other's popular policies. Well, I'm here for it.
And that's why J.D. Vance's tweet is actually so good, because he's like, next thing you know, she's going to be for building a border wall.
I know, with her recent campaign ads, I wouldn't put it past her. Calling her border policies more effective than Trump, saying she was supportive of the most conservative border bill ever. They are really fighting for the middle, and I think they're leaving out a lot of everyday working people. I keep tuning into these videos about the tax changes that have happened from Trump's tax bill, and it's mechanics and it's construction workers, and they're very upset about one specific thing, which my dad was a contractor, a carpenter, and so I kind of get where they're coming from. If you have status as an employee, you cannot have write-offs on your taxes for investing capital and purchasing tools and things that you use. Now, mechanics have to buy tools based on what job they do, because some car is a European model with a very specific wrench or what have you. It's very expensive. But because of this adjustment in the tax code, when filing taxes, a lot of mechanics and contract workers were surprised that they weren't getting these write-offs, and they were paying thousands of dollars more. I mean, they were getting a fraction off, but they're paying tens of thousands in tools. And so we're experiencing a shortage of auto mechanics now, but a lot of them didn't want to talk about it because they liked Trump for other policies, and they didn't want to say that this one policy hurt them because they like him for other reasons. And I think it's much better if we just say to the candidate, you messed up with this policy, change it. Look at what Trump did with taxes on tips. He said one waitress complained about it, and then he made it his official platform. I think making our issues known, even if we like the candidate, is good and makes the candidate stronger and serve the people better.
Yeah, I think that's a great perspective. I agree.
Yeah. Wow. Are we going to agree all day? All right, y'all, more Rising after this.